Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Culture Effect Podcast Show. I have a special guest here with me today, Dr. Jalaal Hayes, and we're going to hear all about his story of being a two-time HBCU graduate and being the youngest in his field. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We also would like to acknowledge the youngest graduate today. This young man, Jalaal Hayes, will earn his
All right, I'm just seeing your message. There was no sound for the video.
Nah, it wasn't, but we could keep flowing. It's all right. I guess we could probably play it at the end or something.
Okay, yeah, I want to figure that out. Yeah, we'll kind of try and redo it at the end and see if it works. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us on the show today. How's everything?
Everything is well. Thank you for having me. It's Monday, so I'm blessed to be up. How about yourself?
Yeah, likewise. Nice day outside. So again, I'm excited to speak with you today. So
yeah, let's get into it.
So let's get into your story. I mean, graduating high school at 15. I mean, I guess we can start there if you want to get a little bit of your backstory to even leading up to the point, because that's something that most people, they're only in their second year of high school at that time. So give us a little bit of backstory leading up until, that point in your life.
Sure. So for those who do not know, my name is Dr. Jalaal A. Hayes, also known as Dr. Ja, and my story starts out at graduate age 15 from high school. So essentially, I call that chapter in my life opposition versus turning to opportunity. So the opposition was when I was getting into high school, I had a situation where I didn't do so well in my math class. In 8th grade, I didn't do what, not my math class, a exam. So because I didn't do well, I enrolled in 9th grade in a Philadelphia high school where the trajectory of my graduation was to graduate in about, I think 5 to 6 years back then. And because I had to take this remedial math and also algebra 1, as well as my other classes. When I saw, and my parents saw that I was doing extremely well in math, rather than actually compared to the test, I had, I believe, 2 A+, 100% in both classes. We asked that, can we transition over to a class I think I had to take was history back then, and to catch up so I won't have to graduate 5 or 6 years due to the credits. The school said no. So we finished out my 9th grade year, and my dad found a summer school option to help me catch up. And I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I think summer school is for people who flunked out of school. I'm not sure if it's for to catch up. And he told me, he was like, no, son, there are actually 2 sets of summer schools. There's a review one and there's an advanced one. What I suggest you take is the advanced one to make sure you catch up. So I said, okay. I took the class. I think the class was world history back then. So I took it in the summer. And I said, hey, I like summer school. Let me try to take 2 other classes for this next session, because it was 2 sessions. It was session 1 and session 2. I was just going to do session 1 and be done with the history. But I said to make sure that I graduate on time, let me do session 2 with the English and also another history class to make sure I'm on track. So we did that for a total of 3 classes after my 9th grade year in that summer. So by the time I hit 10th grade, I knew and I was confident. And so I thought that I would be on track to graduate in 4 years from high school. Turns out that wasn't the case. It was another opposition saying, well, you need to take a language. And my parents, as well as the administration of the school, sat down and he's like, well, we took extra classes to make sure you graduate on time. He graduated on time. What do you mean that he's still going to be held back? They said, well, he need the language. I think it was like Spanish or whatever language I needed at the time to make sure that he got to do it for 2 years. So because he didn't do it for 2 years and his schedule not set up to do it this year within the 2 years, he can't graduate in 4 years with his class. And I think that meeting happened around September 17, 2007. After that meeting was completed, my father took me and my mother sat me down and said, listen, still in the same situation. But one thing I looked at based off the credits, I can guarantee you to graduate at the age of 15. Now I was 14 at the time. And I was like, guarantee that? He was like, yeah, I can guarantee, but it's up to you. It's up to you if you want to do that. We can keep going back and forth with this high school, or I can guarantee you to graduate at 15. And so at the time I was thinking, reflecting on all the situations I was involved in at 14 years old. And after talking to one of my OGs back in my neighborhood in North Philadelphia, I realized, you know what? Let me take this class. I mean, let me do the graduation at 15. And so that's when my journey to graduating early, not once, not twice, but 3 times started. It started where I just hustled my way through, meaning I did day class and night school, day school for the whole 10th grade year. And then I finished out on my summer year after 10th grade to graduate August 1st, 2008 at 15 years old. So that's how I graduated at age 15.
Wow.
Early.
I mean, and it's interesting because it's like, you went through all of that and the back and forth with the school, but it ended up working out in your favor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, wow, like it was a long journey and process in between, but
Yeah.
you're where you are now. So, I mean, so how did it make you feel like once you were finally able to, okay, I'm graduating at 15, like what's next? Like what was going through your mind at 15?
Well, a lot of things was happening fast during that time. So when I got my diploma in hand, that day I got accepted to Lincoln University of Pennsylvania that same day. So, and then 19 days later, August 20th, 2008, I started my semester. So I didn't even have time to, it was like, wow, all this is happening fast. What's going on? But at 15, I was young, and being young in a teenage mind, I just, in the way my thought pattern was, I just go with the flow. So I was like, all right, cool. This is what I got to do. This is what I got to do. Let's just keep going. And so from 15 throughout college, Lincoln University, first degree granted HBCU in America, going through that, it was like home for me because my parents graduated from there. My dad, 87, my mother class in 1989, my brother class of 05. So I was cool. Like I was like, this is home, this is family. And so when I stepped on the campus in 2008, I was trying to lay low because it was they said rumor there's a young guy on campus. And this before the early entree program that occurs now. There's this young guy on campus 15, but we don't know where he at. We think he stayed in the dorms, but we're not sure now. I'm listed, but they don't know that this the young guy they talking about. Right. Until I think end of my fall semester, then they revealed it was me. So I'm just listening. I'm just trying to lay low and enjoy the college life just like everybody else. But I had to be cognizant that at the same time that I'm still young and I'm 15. So to answer your question, it was literally like fun, but also I realized I had a job to do, which is stay in school because I didn't understand this whole concept of college. And I lean towards my parents as well as people who are older than me to understand what's this thing called college is about. Even though I visited a lot, personally, I didn't know what college was about. So That's how my journey was. It was a lot of ups and downs, just like any other student.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, like you say, it's 15, and then you got everybody saying, "Oh, it's this young guy on campus." Everybody looking for you, not realizing that you're him. And and I,
Yeah.
once again, it's like you're doing something that most people do like at least 3 or 4 years down the road. So it's like even me
Hmm.
having to adjust to that and adapt to that. Before we go, I just want to give a shout out to Positivity Water here. It's a black owned alkaline water company. They're one of our sponsors, so shout out to them. I drink this all the time. I'm sipping it now, so just want to give a shout out to them. But yeah, so let's go through it. So Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, right? So you're
Yep.
there. And like you said, it's the first degree granting HBCU.
Yes.
So what was that, even as you transitioned through your years there, what are some things that you learned, especially at such a young age? Like, how did that experience really shape you to be the young man that you are today?
So one thing for certain is that Lincoln University has such a rich history, and I had to, although I call it my home, as well as a lot of my classmates and people who attend Lincoln now, and also alumni call it their home. We were walking on campus where legends were walking here. You got talking Thurgood Marshall, Langston Hughes, Melvin Tolson. For those who don't know, that's the guy that Denzel Washington played in The Great Debaters. A lot of other people, even our contemporaries. You got myself and a lot of celebrities is out here doing it, making history in the world. So understanding that the rich history, we were taught at Lincoln University, we had no choice but to make history and making known that we are Lincoln men and women and we carry ourselves in a certain way. But in the midst of just HBCU life in general, it was fun. Like it's a small campus, so it was like a family oriented environment. In addition to that, our professors really care for us. Like they literally took us under our wing and mentored each and every one of us. Like what people don't know, I was a double major. So I was in history as well as in the chemistry department, and both of my advisors, who were, I think, chairs of the department at the time, they really took me under their wing and made sure that I succeed, not just in the particular majors, but also in life as well, just by giving me game on how to navigate as a black man in the world. And I didn't take it as seriously as I will admit. I didn't really take it as seriously from 15, 16, 17, 18 until I got into the world, I think at 21, and I reflected back on the things that they taught me. But, for HBCU culture, that's what it's all about. But the main thing, once I graduated, I knew that was my mission to give back. So that's one thing Lincoln taught me, as well as my other HBCU, which we'll get into, which is the first state HBCU, Delaware State University in Delaware.
Okay, with the knowledge and the facts for us. Okay. So you're at Lincoln and then you transition. So what made you decide on Delaware State University? Did they have that specific program that you were looking for, or was it other reasons?
You hit it right on the nail. It was a specific program. So back in 2010, there was this guy that became my dissertation advisor by the name of Dr. Andrew Gowdy. Dr. Andrew Gowdy had a center on campus, a science center, a center for hydrogen storage. And I was fascinated with it because my mentor, who introduced me to him, was telling me all about him, all the legendary things he was doing at Delaware State University, establishing this center. I think it was like the first center ever established at Delaware State. The first big grant they had, which was, I think, $3 million from Department of Energy and then Department of Transportation. It was all over the news at that particular time. But he introduced me to him, and the guy, he was like a grandfather to me. He showed me all the labs that he was working out of, and then he presented me with an opportunity. First of all, I was supposed to just get a master's there. I didn't really didn't want to get a doctorate. I just said, listen, I just want to get a master's because I plan on going to medical school. But he said, you sure? Because after our conversation, I think you really can do the doctorate. I said, at the time I was 17 looking at the school. I was like, I'm only 17. I'm not sure. He said, I think if you work under me, we can do something together. So I push you to get the doctor rather than the master's. And I was like, okay. If you really want to push for it, I will trust you I will trust you in your guidance. So applied for the PhD program at Delaware State University. And the research to me from him was very interesting because it's what we're literally talking about now in terms of hydrogen production and storage. We were studying that back 10 years ago, back in 2010, 2011, and I had that in my doctoral 2015. So one, the research was interesting, but two, just him as a person and his mentorship, he kept his promise. He literally took me under the wing, and because of all the things, I credit him on all the things I got in my resume. It's because of him. Back then and even now moving forward.
You know, and once again, it's like you say you were 17 years old and you're faced with a decision of, okay, do I want to get my PhD or not? Should I keep going or just stick with the master? So so you go on to that, right? So once again, going through the program to get to, you know, and you were 22 years old when you graduated from there, and becoming the first America's first doctoral candidate, or was it Delaware State first, right?
It was Delaware State first. So let me tell you how that story went. So before I went Delaware State, I took a 3 months internship at Howard University by way of their NASA University research program, research center, NASA URC. And I did that, and we were studying climate change. So I wanted to get a little field research before I stepped into understanding what clean energy about. So I wanted to understand the problem before we start innovating a solution. So did that for 4 years. I mean, went through my doctoral for 4 years. And after I finished my dissertation, June 17th, 2015, which is exactly, I tell people it was exactly 7 years to date that I left my public high school in North Philadelphia. So it was like, wow, literally 7 number of completion. But when I finished and they went through the process and became Dr. Hayes, like officially got Dr. Hayes all the signatures, for those who are in PhD program know what I'm talking about, they start, I guess the schools start realizing that I slipped, I guess I wouldn't say slipped through, but once I left the campus and they start doing the numbers, they said, hold on, what happened to that young guy that came in the doctoral program at 18? He said, he just finished, he's 22 now. And looking through their archives, they said, oh snap, he's the youngest at our school. We got to find where he's at. And they were looking for me the whole time. I was looking for, I wanted to go back home and teach at school. So I was looking for employment in the education system. But when we finally came together and we did the interview, I think it was 3 days right before I walked the stage, December 20th, 2015. When I walked the stage, that's when the president, as you probably saw in the video, the president shouted me out as being the youngest graduate with the PhD in applied chemistry at Delaware State University. So that's when it was known at Delaware State first. And then I think a few months later, my mentor called me and said, according to the National Academy of Science, because they do an audit of all the doctorates that came through, especially with the STEM education going on. They did an audit of everybody that received a PhD that year in the STEM disciplines. And they said, he said, Ja, that's my nickname. He said, Ja, not only you did at Del State, you're the youngest in America, according to the National Academy of Science. Wow. So I was like, really? He was like, yeah. I said, oh, okay. It's a great honor. I don't know. I don't know how to leverage that at the time, but I thank you for telling me that. And I'm just reflecting like, wow, I did all this because of a decision I made at 14 years old. And it's still to this day like, wow, you know, you don't know you making big boy decisions at a young age until you see what happens later on in life. So it's just something that I still to this day like, wow, it's amazing for me. I'm still in awe, and I have to remind myself like, wow, I'm just Ja at the end of the day. But people like, no, you really made history, and so that's just something I still trying to figure out how to navigate.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine because, like I said, you did all this at such a young age, and like you say, it's like you got this almost newfound fame, and so just to kind of make sure I got the story right. So at Delaware State, they didn't know initially. They didn't know that you had finished the program, so they weren't aware until someone kind of asked, well, "What happened to him?" And then that's when they kind of they found you, and then that's when everything became known. And then that's when the other I forgot the name of the program you said, but everyone who received a PhD for that particular year, that's when they searched it. So then it's like, okay, wow, you went from just being, okay, I finished the program, nobody, whatever, until
Yeah.
now you got this newfound, like I said, newfound fame with this. I mean, like, and you say you're still trying to figure it out and how to leverage you being the first to do it. So I mean, I know you have the documentary, but what are some other ways that you've really taken that and, like you say, being able to even still figure your way through, but even being able to leverage it this far?
Sure. So one of the things I do now is just be the model for other people that's coming through. What do I mean by that? So when I went, like I said, when I finished with my doctorate, I went into education, started out as a high school teacher. And then 2 years later, after being a high school science teacher, I went into higher ed because uh, first I wanted to learn how to teach. I didn't want to be that teacher or educator that just kicking knowledge. I wanted to make sure that whatever I was saying was not only real and aligned what's actually going on in the text and the theory, but also can we actually put it into practice? And that's been my model of pedagogy when I stepped in STEM education. So I did that in high school for about 2 years. And then when I went into higher ed, I did the same, especially teaching at Delaware State first and then transitioning on back to my alma mater, Lincoln University, because I wanted just be a model to students. I wanted to show them that it is possible. You may not do my specific journey, but in the journey of becoming a STEM professional, you can either be a professor or you can be in the marketplace. And I'm showing them I'm in both simultaneously to try to give them a glimpse on STEM identity wise. This is what you can be, especially being a inner city kid from North Philadelphia, but relate to all inner city, and you can achieve the feats that I've achieved. So just being the model, and then still be able to code switch and talk with them. So just being that model, what they can be 5-10 years down the line, and then a documentary for those I can't reach. That's their model to see who I am as a person throughout the journey, the ups and downs. I deal with emotions like everybody else. I'm human. I deal with situations like everybody else. Even an inner city person, I dealt with situations when I was in those. So just showing this is who I am, and this is what I've done with my journey. I exploded into my dreams, speaking at University of Oxford with a whole HBCU background to show HBCUs that you're not beneath. You can compete, because back then, what people don't know, in the 20th century, they were competing. So bringing that knowledge that's already there, aware to saying you can compete in the 21st century, and we are competing, as you're seeing the robustness of HBCUs coming out into the light. So I'm loving what's showing now, because it's like the young our generation as well as the Generation Z, they coming and exploding full force with their pride of being an HBCU graduate, especially in the STEM field.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you said you were able to speak at the University of Oxford and all these other positions, and being a 2-time HBCU graduate. And like I think now, and I've said this, and just even like in some other conversations with people, but it's like now the world is finally starting to see that HBCUs, like you say, like we're just as equal as the PWIs and other institutions. Our graduates, they can get positions at the same jobs that a PWI graduate can get a job at. So, and I think now they're really starting to see that. And shout out to everyone. I see we had Denver, Marisma. I hope I'm saying their name right. It said "Bless Up King." So yeah, I mean,
appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, this is some really it's good knowledge, and it's definitely an inspiration for the youth that's watching. And I want to get into your documentary. The documentary was called "Exploding Dreams: A STEM Story," and the trailer that we saw, which we'll try and show it again because I know the sound it wasn't working earlier, but the trailer was released a few years ago, and so now it's officially dropped, right?
Yes, it's officially here as of I think June 30th. We officially released it for everybody to see.
Okay, so let's get into it. Tell us where it's available at, and what people, I guess, everything they can expect from watching the documentary?
Sure. So you can check out the documentary at explodingdreams.com. That's exploding dreams.com all together. And you can expect that there's also some merch there as well. But you could just expect just an experience of my 10-year span from 15 to 25, 15 being accepted into Lincoln University, which is located in Oxford, PA, to being accepted as a speaker at Oxford, UK, or University of Oxford. So I started at Lincoln University, Pennsylvania, and then became a speaker at the University of Oxford in a 10-year span. And so we show that journey from my mindset at 14, 15 to now my mindset at 20, at 24, 25, and then I spoke at Oxford at 26. And just showing people all the emotions and what it took to actually explode into my dream to speak at one of the premier institutions, and now as a STEM platform, because I don't believe I'm a brand. I believe I'm a platform to try to help other people get on as much as possible as a STEM platform to make sure that that you can compete, you matter. And going overseas or across the pond, as a lot of seasoned generation discuss, and doing that, I didn't just represent Dr. Jalaal Hayes. I represented the HBCUs that I went to, and also HBCUs in the United States of America, because I think I was the only HBCU there. I represent being a Black male. I was the only Black male there. I represented the inner city, because I know based off my background, I came from the inner city of North Philadelphia, where I saw a lot of illicit things and grew up in a lot of illicit things, to where I'm at today. And be able to navigate that world. But after that, I could come back home and still kick it with my homies and let them know, listen, you can be yourself and still chase your dreams in any realm that you want to tap into. But these are the emotions I had to deal with along the way. So that's essentially what the movie is about. Just check out my journey in hopes to create yours. But you got to start local. You got to think universal, because we now try to enter the space realm. So think universal. And also with all of that, move intentional. The journey shows I've been moving intentional, even though I wasn't noticed I was moving intentional. So move intentional so that you too can explode into your dreams.
Move intentionally. I like that. And I think it's so important, moving with a sense of purpose, a sense of and being intentional about it. And I want to, give us the website one more time. I want to type it here.
Sure. So the website is www.exploding. So it's EXPLODING dreams. So DREAMS.com.
Okay.
That's
all right. Explodingdreams.com. There we go. All right. I'll put it there just for the people. Can look that up. But yeah, I mean, and you're definitely setting the precedent. Like you say, you came from an inner city youth, so that's one thing. And then you being able to, like you say, still accomplish so many things, but still staying true to yourself and let people know that you're still trying to figure it out, just like the next person is. So
yeah.
So as we, moving forward, we have the documentaries out. What can we expect from you next? Or maybe some other things you're working on that you want people to know about?
Sure. So what I'm doing next is trying to enter do things in the marketplace. So essentially, throughout my doctoral career, I was able to get a patent in the hydrogen arena, hydrogen industry, and it was granted. We filed in 2014. It was granted in 2017, and now from that patent, we're trying to spin it out or commercialize it with the company, so we can provide, of course, breakthrough in the clean energy industry that is happening now. There's a revolution going on, but also provide HBCU students as well as all students jobs. And the reason why that company right now dear to my heart is because when I graduated, I realized, looking back and looking at all the students that's graduating in STEM, the ones that I know, particularly in the energy industry, it was hard to get jobs in, especially you had a lot of transition with the political realm, and people was trying to figure out is clean energy is going to boom, even though it says around the world is going to boom in the United States. Well, based off the current administration, it is. And my industry, according to President Biden, hydrogen is on the table as of this year, being part of the clean energy economy for the United States. So with that being said, I want to enter that industry, which is a $1.2 trillion industry, not just to make money, but to provide jobs for people who graduate out of college, as well as probably provide some internships for students that are in high school. But provide it so we can not just do education, we can focus on application and employment and overall the entrepreneurship. So overall, I got a 3E plan. That's one of the E's is the energy. Of course, I do things with education through my company, Elite Universal Network, where we focus on making STEAM simple and accessible. And we're doing that through collaborations with with local, like I did it with local summer camps, agencies, and now we're tapping on corporations' door. Like we recently got a partnership with the NBA Cares through NBA Math Hoops. I didn't know they had a STEM program, but it was awesome to connect with them, as well as building something up with the TD Jakes Foundation, because we know that they're heavily trying to build up the STEAM workforce. And so we're happy to do that partnership with the education. And then overall, just focus on entrepreneurship. So I like teaching STEM through entrepreneurship. That's why I became an applied chemist. I like seeing how it applies in the marketplace, because I'm not that professor I know every student asks, okay, how this going to affect me when I get out in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm that professor to try to show you, especially for STEM students, this is how it's affecting you in the world. If we go in, particularly if I'm teaching you thermodynamics or if I'm teaching you kinetics, I'm showing you how this applies to clean energy. Hey, look, this is what I built in the clean energy realm. I got an actual company that we're talking to, investors and VCs, and they teaching me in real time what it's like in that world. So you're not only getting the STEM education part, but you're seeing the application, and you're also seeing how it relates to business. So that's what I'm doing. And overall, I just want to summarize it. It's a 3E plan: education, energy, and then overall entrepreneurship. Showing
education, energy, and entrepreneurship. And I want to and this for everyone that's watching and they're wondering exactly. I know you talked about a lot about energy in the STEM space, but if someone looking to get a doctorate in applied chemistry as well, like what exactly does that entail? And I guess the career fields that they can get into with it.
Sure. So if you want to get a PhD in applied chemistry or any applied sciences, what that entails essentially, you have to think entrepreneurial. When you get an applied science doctoral degree, your goal once you finish that schooling is to figure out how this applies to the marketplace, how this can be practical in the real world. That's all applied science mean. Science applications to the market or to the real world every day. So even though you may study in a specific realm, so for example, at Delaware State University, PhD in applied chemists, the ones who graduated recently, their main focus is on finding a drug, doing drug delivery. So their main focus is finding a drug that will enter the market, or they will partner with a corporation that will help them be the R&D to put it ultimately in the market. So you have to think that if you're going to get an applied science degree, you have to be relevant in the world. It's not just, yes, we get the theoretical background. You learn all the history of the chemistries, the physicists, and the biology, but you have to also think entrepreneurially in the sense, okay, how I'm going to contribute not just to the scientific community, but to the population of the world that I want to focus on. And so that's the mindset I want you to have. I mean, the classes are cool, but when you get into that research each and every day, focus on how is my work helping out the next generation or the current generation, depending on how fast you move. I know the drug the drug industry is mainly, I think it take about 10, maybe 5 to 10 years to actually see an entry in the market. For my industry, it could take 2 to 3 years, depending on how fast you're moving, or maximum 5. So thinking like that, that should help you make the decision on how you want to move to get these applied sciences. It's cool. Like, I'm a professor as well. You could teach it, but the main purpose for the degree, in my opinion, is to see how you can apply it into the market.
Mm. I mean, yeah, no, that's a great explanation, especially like I said, for people who are thinking about it, or maybe even people who aren't really into that space, but they know somebody else who may be thinking about it. So yeah, it's an excellent breakdown of that. Well, this has been a great interview, but before we get ready to wrap this up, I want to ask you, what are some words of advice that you want to give to aspiring HBCU students and even like the incoming students who are getting ready to start in the fall?
Sure. So one of the best advice were given to me. I'm gonna give two advice. First advice was given by my OG when I was young. He told me, he asked me, Jai, where you want to see yourself 5 years from now, and where you want to see yourself 10 years from now. When he's talking about he's not talking about, he was telling me he wasn't talking about a job. He's talking about what lifestyle you see yourself living 5 years from now, and then 10 years from now. So when you're going off to college, or thinking about going off to college, think about what major is going to give me the lifestyle I really want to live once I finish. That's why I say 5 year, because that year extra after the 4 is your actual life. If you do that, if you're talking about 10 year, we're talking about if graduate school or something else, or you mature in your career, what does that look like? Is it kids? Is it family? Are you flexible? Once you figure that out, then you pick the major you believe is going to help you get there. And then once you pick the major that get there, you already know the rest. The curriculum is going to help you get through that major.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jalaal. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And once again, for the documentary, they can visit explodingdreams.com. Right? explodingdreams.com. If anyone wants to check that out. I really want to see if this, let me try the video one more time. I'm not sure what happened to the sound. If not, I mean, it's on YouTube. Let's try it. Let's see. Hold on one second. Let's see. I don't know why the sound. I feel like it may not. It's okay because I don't even know everything. The volume and everything is up here, so I'm not sure. But it's fine if you all do want to go watch the trailer. We were showing the trailer earlier, but the sound, it wasn't playing. But it was just a trailer of the documentary that's actually finished here. So if you all just go to explodingdreams.com and watch the full documentary. And then give us your social media handles as well.
Sure. So for those who are watching, you can follow me at Dr. So Dr. Jahays, or Dr. Jalaal Hayes. So Drjahays. That's for Instagram and that's for Twitter. For those who don't have social media handles, you can connect with me at drjalaalhayes.com. So there's Dr. DrJalaalHayes.com. And you can reach me there as well and see all the things that are upcoming in regards to my journey.
Okay. And then I know you're open to speaking. They want to book you to speak.
Oh yeah. So if you want to book me to speak, you can book me to speak at drjalaalhayes.com. If you want to reach out in regards to anything, features and stuff, you can reach out to us at info@umanagementpr.com.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, congratulations on everything that you accomplish. I mean, you keep inspiring the youth, because it's definitely, your story is much needed, especially in this day and age. They need to keep hearing your story and getting reassured that they can make it out just like you did. So
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, like I said, congratulations once again. Shout out to our sponsor here of our podcast show, Positivity Water, Black-owned alkaline water company. Visit positivitywater.com. And thank you. See y'all next time.
Take care.
Okay.